Hey, what's happening, guys? What's going on YouTube? You guys have tuned into Rules for Rebels. Today is Thursday, December 29th, 2022. We're just 2 days away from the new year. I apologize. I got yesterday's video out late. I got a late start to making the video, and I didn't have time to turn the audio file into a video file and then upload it. So that video wound up going out this morning. So you're getting 2 videos today. Somewhat of a slow news day today, but we do got some things to discuss. I wanted to do a video, and I think I'll make this a video dedicated to this topic alone. But one of these articles came out today or yesterday featuring Mike Rowe. You know, Mike Rowe seems to be the spokesman for why working age males don't want to work. And the article had some interesting stats. 25% of males 18 to 54 are sitting out of the workforce. Either they claim they can't find jobs, don't want to work. I think a third of people said that during the Mexican beer cough lockdowns, it was more advantageous to them to collect unemployment and stimulus perks than it was to work. And then fast forward to today, something like a half of workers say they're not willing to take a job unless it's a remote job. And here's another thing that I thought was interesting. There is a subreddit called Remote Work. It's r/remote work. And the subreddit has just been flooded with people like, why can't I find a remote job? And then people ask, like, you know, what is your skill set? What do you do? And it's typically like fast food or retail. Nobody wants to work fast food, retail, hospitality, restaurant work. Even, you know, office workers and white collar workers, people don't want to go into offices. It seems like everybody is looking for remote work, and only about 30% of companies out there are offering remote work. And we're even starting to see a lot of those companies calling people back into the office. Salesforce, Snapchat, Twitter, and I think we'll see more companies calling people back into the office as we get into 2023. Here's one thing I wanted to talk about in the video. So Zelensky, Ukraine's president, went over and met with the World Economic Forum, the WEF, as well as BlackRock. Zelensky and Ukraine are going to be joining the WEF. They're also going to be paying BlackRock for the reconstruction of Ukraine. So think about what a big scam this is. I mean, there's no other word but to call it but a scam. So the U.S. has given Ukraine $150 billion, a lot of which is unaccounted for, has been used for corruption, has been wasted, has been lost. The country is being absolutely blown to smithereens. And then, you know, I don't know if the U.S. is going to put money in to help kind of reconstruct Ukraine after this is all over, and we're going to send another couple $100 billion over there, or the U.S. is going to give money to BlackRock to reconstruct Ukraine, and BlackRock gets rich off of this. Either way, it's a big con. I think Stoic Finance had a good video about this earlier. We're not going to go super into depth on that. I saw Peter Schiff. I've been talking a lot about a YouTube channel called The Uneducated Economist. He had Peter Schiff on. I thought that was pretty cool for a relatively small YouTube channel to get a guest like Peter Schiff on. Peter Schiff kind of said the same things he always says: buy gold. You know, more and more countries, more and more governments are buying gold. The price of gold is going to go up. And he also said, you know, buy real companies that make real things and pay dividends. You know, don't go for these speculative companies. Saw an article on the Wall Street Journal. Diners are finding their pickup orders have been swiped by others. And, you know, if you guys have ever ordered online, say Chipotle, and then you show up at a Chipotle restaurant, sometimes they keep the food on the counter, but more often than not, and at the Chipotle by me, they basically have a big, like, rolling, what's the word? Like a big rolling shelf in front of the cash register, and there's just food with names and order numbers, and you walk in and you grab, you know, what you're supposed to do is grab your order that you paid for and take it home. But really, anybody can walk into Chipotle, grab a big old bag of food, and walk out. You know, in years past, a lot, you know, you can find old YouTube videos. In years past, if somebody wanted to scam free food, you know, they'd go through the drive-through and claim that their order was messed up, you know, the day before and get some free food. Some people might try to slip into a drive-through line and take somebody's food, but now the food is just sitting out there on restaurant counters for the taking, and people are going through and grabbing other people's food. It reminds me of, and I think I told this story in a video the other day, but I was out in Seattle this past summer, and I was at a Chipotle having dinner with a buddy of mine, and like literally everybody's food was getting stolen off the counter. There were homeless people and street kids coming in and stealing food off the counter. And it appeared as though Chipotle was actually paying one kind of big burly homeless man to kind of act as security and guard the food. So they were giving him free food in return for trying to keep all the other homeless people from stealing food. Seattle's an absolute mess. It's kind of a cool city. The Pacific Northwest is neat, but cities like Seattle and Portland are kind of dumpster fires. So been seeing articles, apparently New York City could lose up to 10,000 Airbnb listings. They have a new law banning Airbnb. Supposedly this is really going heavy, or they're really going to try to strongly enforce it in Manhattan. The penalties could be $1,000 to $5,000. One thing that's interesting, I'm not sure how they actually plan on enforcing this. Like, is New York City somehow able to get the Airbnb website to not list properties in New York City? Because I know most of the destinations that I travel to and rent Airbnbs from, technically speaking, you're not allowed to do Airbnbs, yet there's hundreds, if not thousands, of Airbnbs in the city. I go down to St. Pete, Gulfport, Florida, kind of all around that area quite a bit, and St. Petersburg, Florida, and St. Pete's Beach, and even, I believe, Treasure Island, they all have rules against Airbnbs. Yet the only way you actually ever get caught is if a neighbor reports on you. So as long as you are, keeping things in order, making sure the yards don't get littered with garbage, making sure your tenants don't throw parties and disturb the neighbors, you can pretty much do Airbnb. So I'm not really sure how New York plans on kind of cracking down on this. And despite a ban on Airbnbs in New York City, if you live in a property, and I know this was kind of the original intention of Airbnb, but if you live in a property, you can rent out rooms and you are allowed to Airbnb. But like, how does New York differentiate between who's renting out a room or who's renting their home that they're also living in versus who is just, investors running Airbnbs? Let's see, what do we have here? 40% of homeowners. Okay, so this was an interesting stat, and I think it's just kind of a show of how bad things are getting and how much people are fearful of this coming recession. Again, I would argue we're already in a recession. So 40% of homeowners have delayed or put off repairs needed to their home because they're concerned about a recession. Somebody maybe doesn't want to spend 10 or 15 grand on a new roof, or 15 to 20 grand on new siding when they're worried about being able to pay their car note, being able to pay their mortgage, being able to put food on their table as we enter into 2023. I saw this is an anecdotal story. This was somebody's story on like a Reddit real estate or flipping forum. But I'm sure you're probably going to see this happening all across the country. So here's a story. A flipper has 7 properties. He acquired them all with hard money loans. Hard money loans are like loans from private parties at high interest. Typically, flippers will get these loans, plan on keeping them for a short period of time before refinancing into a traditional loan. But obviously, even the cost of traditional loans is up. The cost of a mortgage is up. Mortgage rates are up. And so this guy, if he is fortunate enough to be able to get out of this hard money loan into a conventional mortgage, which is highly unlikely, he's still going to be paying a very high interest rate. Let's see, is having to give up on selling. Okay, so apparently he's giving up on selling these homes and he's going to try to rent them out. But the rent will not cover what he owes every month on these loans, and especially not at the interest rates that he's paying. So here you potentially have 7 homes going into default. Those homes will eventually come on the market, and somebody like you and me might be able to buy them. But in reality, I think a year would be a very fast time for that to happen. You're probably looking at 2 to 3 years before these 7 homes that this guy is going to lose are actually on the market and available to be purchased. And the way that short sales and foreclosures go, even after you start the process, you're probably looking at 6 to 10 months, maybe even a year, before you can actually close on and live in that home. I thought this was kind of entertaining. I'm not really familiar with the entire story, but apparently Andrew Tate and that Greta, the global warming girl, are beefing. He's posting pics of his, 30 or 40 supercars that are, V12s or whatever, and she's going on. I guess she responded to him and said that's small dick energy, flexing cars. And so, you kind of have half of the people on social media saying that's body shaming. And, if we can't body shame women, you really shouldn't body shame men about having small wieners. And then the other half of people are like, oh, great burn, Greta. Let's see, this Southwest airline debacle is getting worse. Southwest canceled another 2,300 flights today. That's 58% of all their flights today. Over the past week, Southwest has canceled over 15,000 flights. I saw in one article they were showing pilots were actually helping load baggage, and I talked about this in the video the other day, but it actually came out that as early as December 21st, Southwest knew that they didn't have enough employees to safely run the airline, yet continued selling flights and allowing people to show up for flights that they knew weren't going to go anywhere. And apparently the shortage is so bad that you now have pilots helping the baggage guys load baggage onto the planes. I saw kind of a funny tweet on Twitter. Somebody posted a photo of the Southwest Airlines desk at some airport dressed up celebrating Kwanzaa, and somebody had tweeted this and said, you know, maybe if Southwest wasn't spending so much time and employee energy, you know, advertising woke holidays and putting up these woke banners. I mean, nobody celebrates Kwanzaa besides super liberal kindergarten teachers, right? So, and there's no Christmas decorations up at the Southwest terminals. So maybe if they spent less time putting up Kwanzaa decorations, they'd have more time to actually get people on their flights. Apple is being sued by a New Yorker, and I guess there's a class action lawsuit. They're alleging there's racial biases on how the watch's blood oxygenometer works. They claim it yields inaccurate results for minorities and people of color. Let's see, Tesla has been getting beaten down, but it's surged 7% today on the news that Morgan Stanley called it a buying opportunity. We talked about in yesterday's video how the Alameda crypto wallet started moving crypto, trading crypto, and putting crypto through mixers. Well, apparently in the last day, $1.7 million in crypto was moved through mixers yesterday. Who's moving this money? Who's controlling this money? And why hasn't the team who took over FTX and Alameda, why haven't they put a stop to this? Why didn't they secure these wallets when they first took over? The White House Mexican beer cough advisor, Dr. Aisha Jaha, she slipped up, she or he, I'm not really sure, she or he slipped up yesterday and admitted that there is no study in the world that shows that masks work well. Yet despite this, we see, I think Boston, Philly, and a couple other school districts across the country are either putting back or considering putting back mask mandates. The Olympic Committee has created new guidelines regarding transgender athletes. It says that people should be able to compete where they see themselves or where they feel that they fit. Women are claiming that this will destroy women's sports forever. And it kind of makes you wonder, like, what if an Olympic wrestler, you know, he's a big guy, he's a big boy, he's 280 pounds, but he sees himself as being 110 pounds, or he identifies as somebody who weighs 110 pounds. Should this 280-pound wrestler be able to wrestle against a 110-pound guy because he views himself as a smaller guy? I think that would be unfair. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts. Drop a comment below. Let's see, I talked about the uneducated entrepreneur having Peter Schiff on. Let's see, I talked about that earlier. I think I mixed up my notes here. Yeah, nothing really interesting there. Okay. So I guess that is today's video. This is going to be one of the shorter ones. Again, not a ton of exciting news today. But we're at 13 minutes. I'm not going to ramble any longer. If you guys enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. If you guys are not subscribed to the channel, click that subscribe button down below and ring the bell. And if you guys find any interesting news stories that you think are worthy of being shared or that need to be shared with everybody, you know, drop a comment in the emails here or shoot me an email, RulesForRebels@gmail.com. That's all I got for you guys today, and I will catch you on the next video.